Have you ever looked at a symbol, a stained glass window in a church, a cross carved in stone, and felt something greater, something that whispers truths you can't explain? It's not just a design, it's a code, a portal, a hidden map that the mind senses but cannot decipher. For centuries, humanity has bowed before symbols, believing they were merely ornaments of faith. But what if I told you that these symbols, these shapes repeated in cathedrals, altars, and even in the deepest dreams, are keys to a secret society? Not a conspiracy of men in cloaks, but a hidden current, a collective mind that shapes what we call sacred. These symbols are not just art, they are language. They are doors to the collective unconscious, a living archive where archetypes dance, where each of our inner shadows meets the divine. Think of the cross. Not just the Christian cross, but any intersection of lines that divides the world into four: north, south, east, west, heaven, earth, light, darkness. What does it say to you without words? It's as if the symbol speaks directly to something within you, a part that needs no translation. Carl Jung, the psychologist who delved into the depths of the psyche, said that symbols are bridges between the conscious and the unconscious. They don't explain, they evoke. The cross, the circle, the spiral, these are not just drawings, they are archetypes, forms that exist before us, shaped in the collective unconscious, that ocean of shared memories we carry without knowing. When you look at a symbol in a church, it's not just your mind that sees. It's something older, something that pulses in your pineal gland, that point in the brain the ancients called the seat of the soul. Now pause and feel this. The pineal gland, that tiny organ in the center of your brain, is more than flesh. Neuroscientists say it regulates sleep, the body's rhythm, but mystics call it the third eye. Why? Because it is sensitive to light, even buried in the darkness of your skull. It's as if it sees what your eyes cannot. When you pray, when you meditate, or when you lose yourself in the contemplation of a symbol, something vibrates there, something that connects the physical to the metaphysical. Prayer in this sense is not just asking or giving thanks. It's a state of alignment, a moment when you become an antenna, picking up frequencies that symbols amplify. What if these symbols, scattered across churches and temples, were placed there on purpose, not to decorate but to activate something within you? But who placed these symbols there? I'm not talking about priests or architects. I'm talking about a greater intelligence, a secret society that doesn't meet in hidden halls, but in the very structure of reality. Think of the builders of Gothic cathedrals. They had no computers, no machines, yet they raised towers that defy gravity, with stained glass that filters light into patterns that seem to speak to the soul. Every angle, every curve, every number in the proportions of these constructions follows a sacred mathematics. The golden ratio, the number pi, the Fibonacci sequence, these are not coincidences. They are signatures, as if someone or something encoded messages in the places we call holy. What if this secret society wasn't made of people, but of ideas? Ideas that live, breathe, and move through us, using symbols as doorways to awaken consciousness. Now, look inward. Have you ever felt an emptiness you can't explain? A restlessness that feels bigger than you? Jung called this the inner shadow, the part of us we repress, that we hide even from ourselves. The shadow isn't evil, but it's raw. It's the emotional trauma we carry, the memories we bury, the desires we deny. The symbols in a church, like the cross or the chalice, aren't there just to tell biblical stories. They are mirrors. When you contemplate them, they reflect your shadow. The cross forces you to face the intersection of your pain and your redemption. The chalice reminds you of the emptiness you try to fill. And prayer, in that moment, becomes more than words. It's a dive into your own psyche, a dialogue with the collective unconscious that connects you to everyone who has ever lived. But why do these symbols hold such power? Because they are alive, not in a biological sense, but in an archetypal one. Jung said that archetypes are like psychic seeds, planted in the human mind since the beginning of time. The hero, the sage, the mother, the trickster, all these archetypes live in the symbols we see in churches. The Virgin Mary is not just a historical figure. She is the archetype of the universal mother, the force that nurtures and protects. The crucified Christ is not just a man. He is the archetype of sacrifice, of death and rebirth. When you enter a church and feel a shiver, it's not the cold of the stone. It's your unconscious recognizing these forms, these truths that transcend time. What if this secret society, this hidden current, knew this? What if the symbols we see were not just art, but tools tools to hack the mind, to open doors in the unconscious. Neuroscience tells us that the human brain is plastic, malleable. Every time you meditate, pray, or contemplate a symbol, you're rewiring your brain, creating new neural connections. The pineal gland, sensitive to light and rhythm, amplifies this. It's as if the symbols were programming codes, written by an intelligence that understands the human psyche better than we do. What if prayer were the activation key, the command that runs these codes? But there's a greater mystery here. Why are these symbols in churches? Why not in town squares, schools, or markets? Because a church at its core is not just a place of worship. It's a space of transformation, a place where the veil between the physical and the spiritual is thinner. The symbols there are not random. They are chosen, placed with surgical precision to stir something in you. When you enter a cathedral and see light cut through a stained glass window, forming a rainbow on the floor, it's not just beauty. It's a trigger for synchronicity, those moments when the world seems to conspire to show you something. Jung loved synchronicity, the idea that coincidences are not random, but messages from the collective unconscious. Think about it. Have you ever seen a symbol repeated at strange moments in your life? A number, a shape, a pattern that appears in your dreams, in a book, in a conversation. That's the secret society speaking to you. Not a conspiracy of men, but a conspiracy of reality. The symbols are the threads of a larger web, a network that connects your mind to the minds of all. And the church, with its stained glass, its crosses, its circles, is where this web becomes visible. It's where you feel, even without understanding, that something greater is calling you. Now dive deeper. If symbols are keys, what do they unlock? Not just the door to the collective unconscious, but something even more intimate, your own story. Every line of a mandala, every curve of a stained glass window, every angle of a cross carries an echo of what you've lived, what you fear, and what you seek. These symbols aren't there just to make you feel something. They are mirrors of your emotional trauma, maps of your inner shadow, guides to spiritual healing. When you sit in a church, even without believing, and look at a symbol, something moves within you. It's as if the symbol knows who you are, as if it was designed to meet you exactly where you are. Think of the spiral. Have you ever seen a spiral in a cathedral, perhaps carved into a column or painted on a ceiling? It's not just an ornament. The spiral is an archetype, a symbol as old as time. It represents the movement of life, birth, death, rebirth. Jung said the spiral is the path of the psyche, an eternal loop between the ego and the unconscious. When you contemplate it, it pulls you inward like a whirlpool. Have you ever felt that? That sensation of being drawn into something greater, something that knows you better than you know yourself. That's the collective unconscious speaking, a current of memories that aren't just yours but belong to everyone who came before. And what does this have to do with the secret society? Everything. This society, this invisible force that shapes the symbols, isn't just in churches. It's in the very structure of your mind. Neuroscience tells us that the brain is a pattern-seeking machine. It searches for forms, connections, meanings, even where there seems to be none. When you see a symbol, your brain doesn't just register it, it interprets it, connects it to memories, emotions, archetypes buried in your psyche. The pineal gland, that tiny crystal in the center of your brain, amplifies this. It's like an antenna, picking up vibrations beyond the visible. When you meditate or enter a state of contemplation, it vibrates as if tuning into an ancient frequency, a frequency the symbols in churches were designed to activate. But why are these symbols so powerful? Because they speak the language of the soul. Not the language of words, but the language of archetypes. The circle, for example, it's everywhere. In the halos of saints, in the shape of rose windows, even in the communion bread. The circle is the archetype of wholeness, of unity. Jung called this the self, the center of the psyche, the point where all parts of you, light and shadow, meet. When you look at a circle in a church, it reminds you, even unconsciously, that you are more than your pain, more than your fears. You are a whole, even if you don't yet see it. And the shadow? Oh, the shadow. It's the part of you that you avoid, but the symbols force you to face it. Think of a stained glass window depicting an angel battling a demon. It's not just a story, it's you. The angel is the part you show the world, the mask you wear. The demon is the shadow, what you hide, your emotional trauma, your anger, your shame. The symbols in a church aren't there to judge you, they're there to help you integrate. Spiritual healing isn't about erasing the shadow, but embracing it, understanding it, dancing with it. When you look at these symbols, something in you awakens. It's the awakening of consciousness, a moment when you realize the battle isn't out there, but within. Now imagine this. Each symbol in a church is like a note in a symphony. Alone it's powerful, but together with the others, it creates music that resonates in your psyche. The secret society, this hidden intelligence, knew this. They encoded these symbols with precision, like engineers of the soul. Neuroscience confirms when you're exposed to repetitive patterns, like those in a cathedral, your brain enters a state of coherence. It's the same state you reach in deep meditation when brainwaves align. It's as if the symbols are software and your mind is the hardware. They reprogram you, guiding you to a state of synchronicity where everything feels connected. And synchronicity, Jung loved this concept. He saw meaningful coincidences as clues from the universe, moments when the collective unconscious manifests in the physical world. Have you ever had such a moment? Seen a symbol in a church and days later it appeared in a dream, a book, a conversation? That's not chance. It's the secret society working, using symbols as threads in a web that connects everything. The church, with its forgotten spiritual codes, is where this web shines. Each symbol is a node, and you, by contemplating it, become part of the network. But there's more. Symbols aren't static, they evolve with you. The same symbol that frightened you as a child, perhaps a cross covered in thorns, might bring you peace today. Why? Because your psyche has changed. The emotional trauma you carried, the layers of shadow you faced, all of this alters how you see the world. The secret society, this force that shapes the symbols, understands this. They didn't create symbols for a single reading. They created keys that adapt, that grow with you. Each time you return to a church, to a symbol, you see something new. It's as if the symbol is alive, dialoguing with you, guiding you to the next layer of your awakening. What if all this was intentional? What if the secret society wasn't just a metaphor, but an intelligence operating through time? Not men in cloaks, but a consciousness that uses symbols as tools to awaken us. The pineal gland, the collective unconscious, the archetypes, all are part of the same system. When you enter a church, you're not just in a building, you're in an energy field, a space where forgotten spiritual codes are alive, waiting for you to decipher them. And each symbol, each line, each color is an invitation to remember who you truly are. What if the symbols were more than keys? What if they were mirrors of time, reflections of a truth that spans eras, whispering secrets humanity has forgotten? Each line carved in a cathedral, each curve in a stained glass window, carries a story that doesn't begin with the stone but with the psyche. The secret society, this invisible force that shapes forgotten spiritual codes, isn't just in churches. It's in you, in the way your brain deciphers the world, in the way your pineal gland picks up vibrations your eyes cannot see. These symbols are more than art or tradition. They are a system, a cosmic map that connects the micro, your mind, your traumas, your desires, to the macro, to the collective unconscious that pulses through all of us. Think of the triangle. Have you ever seen a triangle in a church? Perhaps in the outline of a portal, the base of a painting, or the shape of a window. The triangle is the archetype of the Trinity, the union of body, mind, and spirit. Jung said that archetypes are like fixed stars in the psyche, guides that never change but illuminate different paths depending on where you stand. When you look at a triangle, it doesn't explain anything. It makes you feel. It reminds you that you are more than flesh, more than thoughts. There's something in you that transcends, something the symbols in churches were designed to activate. It's as if each triangle is a reminder. You are part of something greater, an eternal dance between the visible and the invisible. But why do these symbols move us so deeply? Neuroscience offers a clue. When you contemplate a complex pattern, like the mosaics of a cathedral, your brain enters a state of flow. Brainwaves slow, synchronize, and suddenly you're in a space between thinking and feeling. It's the same state you reach in deep meditation, when the pineal gland begins to vibrate as if picking up a signal. Mystics call this the awakening of consciousness, but science confirms this state alters your brain's plasticity, creates new connections, rewrites old pains. Symbols aren't just beautiful, they are technology, tools of a secret society that knows how to hack the human psyche. Now, think of your inner shadow, that part of you that you avoid, that holds the emotional traumas, the memories you've buried. The symbols in a church don't let you escape it. the image of a sacrificial lamb, a coiled serpent, an angel with a flaming sword. These are mirrors of your psyche. Jung said the shadow isn't something to be destroyed but integrated. Spiritual healing begins when you face what you reject. When you enter a church and feel a weight, it's not the place oppressing you. It's the symbol calling you to look within, to confront what you hide. The lamb is your vulnerability. The serpent is your repressed wisdom. The angel is your strength, even if you're afraid to wield it. And the secret society? It knew this. Whoever designed these symbols, whether the masters of cathedrals or the invisible hands of the collective unconscious, understood that the human mind needs triggers. Symbols are like passwords, unlocking layers of the psyche you didn't know existed. The golden ratio, for example, appears in nearly every ancient church. Why? Because it resonates with something deep within us. Neuroscience shows that symmetrical patterns, like the golden ratio, activate areas of the brain tied to pleasure and transcendence. It's as if the symbol is a bridge, connecting the chaos of your mind to the balance of the cosmos. But there's something even stranger. Symbols aren't static. They change with you. The same cross that brought you fear as a child might bring you peace today. Why? Because you've changed. Your unconscious, shaped by traumas, experiences, and choices, sees the symbol differently. The secret society, this intelligence operating through symbols, understands this. They didn't create symbols for a single reading, but for an eternal conversation. Each time you return to a church, a stained glass window, a pattern, you find something new. It's as if the symbol is alive, dialoguing with your psyche, guiding you to the next layer of your awakening. And synchronicity? Those moments when the world seems to conspire to show you something? You see a cross in a church, and days later, it appears in a dream, a conversation, a book. Jung called this meaningful coincidence, a moment when the collective unconscious manifests in the physical world. The secret society uses these moments to speak to you, not with words, but with signs. Symbols are the threads of this web, and the church is where they intersect most powerfully. Each stained glass window, each column, each pattern is a node in this network, a point where the physical and spiritual meet. Why churches? Because a church is a portal, not in a mystical sense, but a psychological one. It's a space where the veil between the conscious and unconscious is thinner. The symbols there are not random. They are placed with precision, like pieces of a cosmic puzzle. Neuroscience explains, environments designed with symmetry and harmony, like cathedrals, induce states of reverence. Your brain enters a mode of contemplation where the ego dissolves and the self, the archetype of wholeness, begins to emerge. That's why you feel something different in a church. It's not just faith, it's your psyche responding to a call. What if all this were part of a larger plan? Not a plan of men, but of an intelligence operating through time. The secret society isn't an organization. It's a current, a force that uses symbols to guide us. Each stained glass window, each cross, each spiral, is a reminder. You are more than you think. You carry the collective unconscious, the archetypes, the memories of all who came before. And the symbols? They are the keys to unlock this, to bring you back to the center, where your shadow and your light meet. What if the symbols were more than an invitation? What if they were a call, a summons to become part of the secret society? Not a society of men hidden in shadows, but a current of consciousness that spans time, connecting us all through the collective unconscious. Each symbol in a church, the cross, the circle, the spiral, is more than a code. It's a promise that, by deciphering it, you find not just the world, but yourself. These symbols aren't there to be worshipped. They're there to be understood, to guide you to the center of your own psyche, where the inner shadow and the light of the self meet in an eternal dance. Think of the labyrinth. Have you ever seen a labyrinth drawn on the floor of a cathedral, like the one in Chartres? It's not just a pattern, it's an archetype, a map of the soul's journey. Jung said the labyrinth represents the winding path to the center of being, where the ego faces the shadow and discovers the self. When you walk a labyrinth, even just with your eyes, something happens. Your brain, according to neuroscience, enters a state of coherence, as if synchronizing with a greater rhythm. The pineal gland, that tiny portal in your skull, begins to vibrate, picking up frequencies beyond the physical. It's as if the labyrinth is a machine, designed to align you with the forgotten spiritual codes the secret society planted there. But what is this secret society after all? It's not a conspiracy in the classical sense. It's a living intelligence, a force that operates through archetypes, symbols, and the very structure of reality. It doesn't need secret meetings or hooded rituals. It exists in the way symbols resonate with your psyche, in the way they awaken something in you. When you enter a church and feel a shiver, it's not just the cold of the stones. It's your unconscious recognizing a pattern, a truth that transcends time. The symbols are the tools of this society, and you, by contemplating them, become part of its purpose, the awakening of consciousness. And the shadow, it's always there, waiting. Jung said the shadow is everything you reject, but also everything you could become. The emotional trauma you carry, the pains you've buried, the fears you avoid, all live in the shadow. But the symbols in a church don't judge you. They invite you to look. The cross with its outstretched arms is a reminder of the tension between opposites, pain and redemption, death and life. The chalice with its sacred emptiness calls you to fill what's missing. Spiritual healing isn't about erasing the past, but integrating it, transforming the shadow into light. And the symbols? They are the guides in this process, the beacons that light the way. Now, think of synchronicity. Have you ever noticed how symbols seem to follow you? You see a spiral in a church, and days later it appears in a dream, a drawing, a conversation. Jung called this meaningful coincidence, a moment when the collective unconscious manifests in the physical world. The secret society uses these moments to speak to you, to remind you that you're connected to something greater. Symbols are the threads of this web, and the church is where they intersect most powerfully. Each stained glass window, each column, each pattern is a node in this network, a point where the physical and spiritual meet. And neuroscience, it gives us clues about why this works. When you contemplate a symbol, your brain enters a state of resonance. Brainwaves align, the pineal gland vibrates, and suddenly you're in a space where time seems to dissolve. It's the same state mystics reach in meditation, that artists find in creation, that scientists experience when deciphering the universe. The symbols in churches were designed to take you to this state, to make you feel what the ancients knew, that you are part of a greater whole, a cosmic symphony orchestrated by the secret society. But there's a final mystery. Why are these symbols so pervasive? Why do they survive centuries, millennia, while empires fall and dogmas change? Because they are timeless. They speak the language of archetypes, the language of the collective unconscious. The circle, the cross, the triangle, these forms don't belong to one religion or one era. They belong to humanity. The secret society, this force that planted them, knew this. They didn't create symbols to control, but to liberate. Each symbol is a key, and each key opens a door within you, the door to the self, to wholeness, to awakening. What if you were part of this? Not just an observer, but a co-creator. Every time you contemplate a symbol, every time you feel it resonate, you're participating in the work of this secret society. You're deciphering the codes, integrating the shadow, awakening consciousness. The church, with its stained glass and stones, is just the stage. The real work happens within you, in the dance between your mind and the archetypes the symbols evoke. And the pineal gland, it's the antenna picking up the signals the secret society left for you to find.